They built an empire on my stolen luck. My response was to quit. Everyone called me crazy, a burnout. Only I knew the truth. This was my declaration of war against the system. I stopped grinding. I cut off the pipeline of potential. It was siphoning from me. I let the blowback slam into them. And as they fell from grace, screaming and begging for me to save them, I just sat back and watched them reap what they'd sown. The show, I thought, is just getting started. Leo Carter's eyes shot open. His breathing was ragged, his forehead slick with a cold sweat. This ceiling again. He stared at the familiar crack above him, a jagged line shaped like a lightning bolt. It had been his constant companion for the 3 years he'd lived in this cramped Austin apartment since graduating. This wasn't a basement. These weren't the damp, cold, concrete walls of his final days in the last life. Memories flashed through his mind like a corrupted film reel. The bankruptcy, the friends who turned their backs on him, the family that fell apart. Every ounce of his effort had ended in absolute ruin. Leo's fingers trembled as he instinctively touched his chest. There it is. He could feel an invisible force being slowly drawn out of him, a parasitic drain on his very soul. At the same time, he felt a familiar pulse from somewhere far off. A presence that filled him with a visceral, instinctual disgust. Alex Vance. The name escaped his lips through gritted teeth, laced with a hatred that was bone deep. Leo closed his eyes, tracking the flow of that stolen energy. There was no doubt it was heading straight for his cousin, Alex. The luck transference system. The name was a nightmare he had lived and died with. In his previous life, every stroke of good fortune, every opportunity, every success had been unknowingly rerouted to Alex. Meanwhile, he had been walking step by step into an abyss. But this time, something was different. There was no desperate screaming, no agonizing struggle. Instead, a cold smirk touched Leo's lips. Last time, I fought like hell. He whispered to the empty room. And I lost everything. Leo rubbed his temples, a sharp, predatory glint in his eyes. This time, he took a deep, steadying breath, his gaze becoming unnervingly calm. I'm done grinding. Let the whole damn thing collapse. The moment the thought solidified, it felt as if the world went quiet. Leo picked up his phone from a nightstand and dialed his office. Hey, Mr. Davis, it's Leo Carter. His boss's surprised voice came through the speaker. Leo, what's up? You didn't come in today. I need to take a leave of absence, Leo said, his voice flat and resolute. Indefinite. What? Are you insane? That project is about to you don't have to pay me. My mind's made up. Leo hung up before Davis could protest further and silence his phone. The screen immediately lit up with a flood of missed call notifications. He ignored them, walked to the fridge, and pulled out a cold beer. The doorbell rang. Leo lazily swung the door open. His roommate Mark stood there looking bewildered. Leo, man, you didn't go to work. The office has been calling me nonstop. Mark stared at Leo's disheveled state. The 3-day stubble, the wrinkled t-shirt. Leo shrugged. I'm on leave. Leave? Are you crazy? What about the project you're leading? You're just walking away. Yep. Just like that. Leo's tone was as casual as if he were discussing the weather. Mark was floored. Dude, what happened? Did you get dumped? Are you sick? I'm fine, Leo said, taking a long pull from his beer. Never. Mark ran a hand through his hair, completely baffled. Seriously, man. Should I take you to a doctor? Nope. I just decided I need a real break. A long one. But your career? Your future? Leo just smiled. What career? What future? It was all just a dream. Anyway, before Mark could argue, his phone rang. He answered it and his expression shifted. Hello, Sarah. Oh, yeah. Leo's here. You're coming over. He hung up and gave Leo a look loaded with meaning. Your girlfriend's on her way. Leo's face was a blank mask. Fiancé, she heard you quit. She's freaking out. Okay, you're really not going to explain yourself. Nothing to explain. Leo walked back to the couch, flipped on the TV, and started watching a Twitch stream. 2 hours later, a frantic pounding shook the door. Leo, open this door. Sarah's voice, sharp with anxiety and anger, cut through the wood. Leo slowly got up and opened it. Sarah stood there in a pristine business suit, her makeup flawless. She was a stark contrast to the mess Leo had become. Oh my God, what happened to you? She stepped inside and froze, her eyes widening at the scene. Takeout containers littered the floor. The TV blared a video game and clothes were strewn everywhere. Are you sick? She asked, frowning as she reached for his forehead. Leo sidestepped her touch. I'm fine. Fine. You called us fine. Her voice jumped an octave. Mr. Davis called me. He said, you just walked out and the project team is in chaos. Oh. Leo's response was a single dismissive syllable. As he returned to his spot on the couch, Sarah noticed the prying eyes and lowered her voice, though it was still tight with anger. Lo, what is wrong with you? We were supposed to get married this year. We're still short on the down payment of the house. How could you do this now? We don't have to get married, Leo said. His tone was so calm, it was chilling. Sarah froze, the shock in her eyes quickly curdling into disappointment, then into raw disgust. What did you say? I said, we don't have to get married. Leo turned his head, his gaze distant. We can also break up. The gossiping neighbors gasped. Wow, he just dropped the B word. What's wrong with him? That girl's a catch. Something serious must have happened. Sarah's face went from pale to beet red. Leo, have you had some kind of breakdown? She fought to keep her tone gentle. We've been together for 3 years. We're about to get married. How can you just think about our future? Our future? Leo let out a short hollow laugh. Are you sure it's our future you're thinking about? The question hit its mark. Sarah's eyes flickered. Of course, we planned together, didn't we? The house, the wedding, the kids. And then you marry my cousin Alex Vance. The words detonated in the small apartment. Sarah's face went ashen. What? What are you talking about? Leo just stared at her, his silence more damning than any accusation. Leo, you're just exhausted. Maybe we should go see a doctor, she pleaded, trying to change the subject and pull him his feet. He didn't budge, solid as a block of ice. I am perfectly lucid, more than I've ever been. A flash of panic crossed Sarah's face before it hardened into fury. Fine, if you want to be like that, I won't beat around the bush either. She stood up, towering over him. Look at yourself lying around playing video games all day. Is this your grand plan for life? It is, he replied, not even looking up. Well, it's not Alex's. He's doing great. His company just landed a new round of funding. His project is taking off. Oh, is that right? Leo finally lifted his head, a strange smile playing on his lips. My cousin really is an impressive guy. His calm infuriated her even more. Why can't you be more like him? You used to be so ambitious. What happened to you? Leo ignored the question, gesturing to a takeout bag on the table. Hungry. We could eat. Her last shred of patience snapped. Leo, are you even listening to me? I am, he said, his voice still quiet, but with a new sharp edge. You were saying Alex is a great guy, right? Sarah took a deep breath, trying one last time. Leo, I'm saying this for your own good. If you keep this up, you're going to lose everything. Everything. He chuckled. Already lost it, haven't I? The words left her speechless. The audience of neighbors had grown and someone was now recording the scene on their phone. Young people these days looks like he's really committed to this burnout thing. That poor girl is about to explode. Sarah glanced at the neighbors, realizing she was the star of a pathetic little show. Her face hardened. Leo, I'm giving you one last chance. Her voice was ice. Either you come with me to the office right now and apologize to Mr. Davis or what? Leo asked calmly, or we're done. The room fell silent. Even neighbors held their breath. Leo slowly rose to his feet, walked over to Sarah, and gently patted her shoulder. You know, Sarah, he said, his voice soft, but carrying to every corner of the hallway. I never thought it would be this easy. Sarah stared at him. What? Breaking up? It's a lot easier than I imagined. He smiled. A genuine smile of relief as if a massive weight had just been lifted from his shoulders. Shock, disbelief, and anger weighed on Sarah's face, finally settling into a look of pure contempt. You're going to regret this, Leo, she spat. You're going to regret this so much you'll go insane. Maybe, he said with a shrug, holding the door open for her. But that's a problem for future me. Shaking with rage, Sarah grabbed her purse and stormed out. Don't you dare think you can come crawling back. Not ever, she yelled, her heels clacking down the hall in a furious rhythm. Leo stood in the doorway and watched her go, his expression cold and unreadable. Behind him, the neighbors murmured. Some pitied him. Others thought he was a fool. But none of them knew that in that moment, Leo Carter had made a decision that would shatter worlds. He was going to do absolutely nothing and let the system and everyone who fed on it pay the price. Chapter 2. The counteroffensive of doing nothing. Leo Carter was a monument to inertia. Sprawled on his couch, he scrolled listlessly through his phone, his eyes vacant. Another day, another whole lot of nothing, he muttered, punctuating the thought with the laziest stretch imaginable. The air conditioner hummed, ruffling his unkempt hair. A small mountain of takeout containers was growing on the coffee table. Mark walked in, his brow furrowed in disapproval. "Leo, you've been lying there for a week straight." "Yeah," Leo replied, his voice muffled by a cushion. "It's been great. You used to be up at 6 for a run every morning. Now you won't even leave the apartment." Leo squinted and let out an exaggerated yawn. "Running's hard. Lying down is easy. You left the entrepreneurship group chat and you let your gym membership expire?" Mark's questions were a rapid-fire barrage of disbelief. Leo nodded, a strange look of satisfaction on his face. "Yep. All of it. Too much work. You know, people are talking about you," Mark said, sitting across from him, his expression a mix of concern and frustration. "Oh yeah, about how awesome this is." Leo smirked. Mark sighed. "They're not saying that about Alex." Leo's eyes flickered for a fraction of a second before his mask of indifference fell back into place. "Oh, and how's my dear cousin doing?" "He just landed the new Northside Tech Campus project," Mark said, watching Leo for a reaction. "It's a $50 million contract." Leo's expression didn't change. He just kept scrolling. "Wow, good for him. Weren't you the one chasing that project for months?" Mark pressed. Leo chuckled softly. "I was. Now it's his." "That's fine. You really don't care." Mark's eyes were wide with incredulity. Outside the window, a couple of people walking by pointed up at the apartment. "Is that the guy? The one who quit his job to become a full-time gamer?" A man in a business suit asked his colleague. The young woman with him nodded. "That's him. I heard his fiancée left him, too. Kids these days," the man said, shaking his head with pity. "No resilience." Leo's thumb paused on his screen for a second as if he'd heard them, but then he just turned up the music from his phone. "Alex is all over the place. I heard he's getting a feature in Forbes," Mark added. Leo remained infuriatingly nonchalant. "Wow, impressive. Guess he really is better than me." "You're not even a little bit jealous?" Mark demanded, staring straight at him. Leo finally put his phone down and met Mark's gaze. "Jealous of what?" "Something that was never mine to begin with." The sudden sharpness in Leo's eyes made Mark flinch. "What's that supposed to mean?" Leo's lazy posture returned. "Means nothing. I am dived. Going to take a nap." He closed his eyes, ending the conversation. A few days later, Leo's phone buzzed. The name Sarah Collins lit up the screen. Well, look what the cat dragged in," he said, answering with a dramatic drawl. "Leo, I need to see you," Sarah said, her voice tight with urgency. "Can't busy lying flat," he replied lazily. "You have to see me," she insisted, her tone hardening. Leo chuckled. "Fine. Door's unlocked. Let yourself in." 30 minutes later, Sarah stood in the middle of his living room, her perfect makeup failing to hide the exhaustion in her eyes. "It's even filthier than last time," she said, wrinkling her nose. Leo grinned. "Welcome to reality." "I heard you've gotten famous online," she said, choosing a chair farthest from the trash. Leo raised an eyebrow. "Have I? You're the poster child for the Great Resignation trending on Twitter." She held out her phone, showing him the hashtag. He glanced at it. "People have too much time on their hands." "Did you know Alex is starting to worry?" she said, abruptly changing the subject. That got his attention. "Worry about what?" "About you?" Her voice softened. "You think you might be seriously depressed?" Leo laughed out loud. What a great cousin. So thoughtful. Sarah took a cautious step closer. "Leo, it's not too late to turn things around." "Turn around and go where?" "Back to being the ambitious, driven Leo." I knew his face became a stony mask. "That Leo is dead. He died when you two stabbed him in the back." The color drained from her face. "What? I don't know what you're talking about." "Doesn't matter. Just forget I said it." He slumped back into his lazy persona. Outside, the small crowd of curious neighbors had returned. A teenager was now live streaming on his phone. "Yo, it's hashtag #QuitLifeGuy, and the hot ex-fiancée is back again," he whispered to his followers. An old man next to him shook his head. "A shame. Such a promising young man, throwing it all away." Sarah shot a venomous look out the window. "Doesn't it bother you being a laughingstock?" Leo shrugged. "They can laugh all they want. Doesn't cost me anything." Alex has been having amazing luck lately, she said suddenly, her eyes fixed on him. Is that so great? Leo replied blandly. He said it feels like he's playing life on easy mode. Everything just works out. She watched him, searching for a reaction. Leo's eyes narrowed and a slow, strange smile spread across his face. Easy mode, huh? Hope he's enjoying the boost. What do you mean by that? Sarah's voice was sharp. He waved a dismissive hand. Nothing. Just thinking that when you take something that isn't yours, you eventually have to pay it back. What are you implying? Her voice began to tremble. Leo looked her directly in the eye. Some lucky streaks are bought and paid for with someone else's currency. And the interest is a killer. She took an involuntary step back, a flicker of fear in her eyes. Leo, you've changed. No, he said, his voice suddenly cold as ice. I've just woken up. Woken up to what? She whispered, almost pleading. He just smiled and leaned back, picking up his phone as if she were no longer there. Sarah stood frozen, her face a canvas of conflicting emotions, but fear was rapidly becoming the dominant color. He's been having nightmares, she blurted out as she was about to leave. Alex, he has them all the time now. Leo didn't even look up from a screen. Nightmares. Oh, they're just getting started. Sarah gasped and practically fled the apartment. Outside, she leaned against the wall, her forehead beaded with sweat. He knows, she whispered to herself. He has to know something. Inside, Leo put down his phone. The lazy indifference was gone, replaced by a razor-sharp glint in his eyes. The starvation diet, he said softly, a chilling smile on his face, officially begins now. Chapter 3. The Blowback. Alex Vance stared at the documents scattered across his desk, his fingers drumming a frantic, nervous rhythm on the polished mahogany. What do you mean? They suddenly pulled out. His voice was a ragged edge of disbelief. The project manager on the other end of the line stammered. Mr. Vance, after careful consideration my ass. Alex shot to his feet, sweeping a water glass off the desk. It shattered on the floor, the sound echoing his frayed nerves. Outside the glass walls of his office, employees exchanged worried glances and quietly backed away. That's the third deal to collapse this week, one whispered. The boss has been on a hair trigger lately, another agreed, looking spooked. Alex slammed the phone down, a vein throbbing in his temple. Rebecca, he roared. A professional-looking woman in her 40s hurried in, a tablet in her hands. Yes, Mr. Vance. Give me a meeting with Mr. Harrison. Tell him the project hit a snag, but I have a new proposal. Tell him whatever it takes. The words tumbled out, laced with a desperation that bordered on pleading. Rebecca's eyes flickered downward. Mr. Harrison's office said he's unavailable to meet for the foreseeable future. What do you mean unavailable? Alex's tailored shirt was now wrinkled, clinging to his back with a sheen of sweat. Just unavailable, she mumbled, avoiding his gaze. Alex snatched his phone, dialed a number, and put on speaker. The dial tone echoed in the tense silence. After 10 rings, it went to voicemail. He tried 3 more times with the same result. Damn it! He hurled the phone at the leather couch, his face a mask of fury. Downstairs in the building's lobby cafe, a group of his recently departed employees were chatting over coffee. Her another project went belly up, one said, raising an eyebrow. Yep, it's like his luck just ran out overnight. Total nosedive, another added with a smirk. A few months ago, he was the golden boy. Investors were lining up to give him money, and now he can't even get a return call. It's weird, right? It's like someone just flipped a switch on him. Across the street, Sarah Collins sat in a second-floor bistro, staring at the gleaming office tower that had once been her symbol of victory. Her fingers traced the rim of her coffee cup, her thoughts a tangled mess. Ma'am, your cake, a waiter said, pulling her from her trance. Thank you. She accepted the plate, but her eyes immediately drifted back to the building. Her phone vibrated. Alex's name flashed on the screen. She watched it ring, then silenced the call. Sorry, tied up right now. She texted a curt, dismissive message. A week ago, a text like that would have earned her an angry phone call. Now, he simply replied, okay. Sarah frowned, then dialed another number. Sarah? Mark's voice answered. What's up? How's Leo doing? She asked, hesitating. There was a pause on the other end. The same. Lying on the couch, watching shows, playing games. It's like he's a different person. As he asked about me, the question carried a note of hope she hadn't intended to reveal. Nope, Mark said bluntly. He doesn't seem to care about much of anything anymore. Her fingernails scraped against the ceramic cup. I see. Thanks, Mark. After hanging up, she stared at her phone, then opened a shopping app. Supplements, she murmured, her thumb scrolling past various bottles. Something for energy, vitality. The next afternoon, Leo's doorbell rang. He dragged himself off the couch and opened it to find Sarah standing there holding several expensive-looking gift bags. Hey, he said, leaning against the doorframe, not bothering to invite her in. I was in the neighborhood, she said with a stiff smile. Write you some health supplements. An elderly woman walking down the hall slowed her pace. Her curiosity piqued. Isn't that the hashtag quit life guy from the internet? She whispered to her husband. Looks like it. Heard his ex ran off with his cousin. But now she's back. The husband replied, adjusting his glasses. The love lives of these young people are so complicated. The woman clucked. Leo glanced at the impromptu audience, then stepped aside. Come in. Sarah entered cautiously, surprised to see the apartment was slightly cleaner than before. You look okay, she said, placing the bags on a coffee table. Your complexion is better. Leo just shrugged and fell back on a couch. So, what do you really want? I was just worried about you, she insisted, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. We've known each other a long time. Oh. Leo raised an eyebrow, his tone dripping with sarcasm. And what about Alex? Too busy trying to save his sinking ship. Sarah flinched. You know about that? The security guard in the lobby knows, Leo said, scrolling through his phone. Word is his luck has taken a bit of a downturn. It's just a temporary setback, she said, though her voice lacked conviction. Suddenly, Leo sat up straight, his gaze sharp as a shard of glass. Sarah, why are you here? The sudden shift in his intensity startled her, leaving her speechless. Outside, more neighbors were finding excuses to linger in the hallway. Look, she's back again. Didn't she dump him? Why does she keep coming back? I heard her new boyfriend's company is in trouble. Maybe she's looking for a lifeboat. Sarah took a deep breath, her eyes welling up. Leo, do you remember our first date? That little Italian place by the lake, he recited, his voice completely devoid of emotion. You remember? She whispered, a sob catching in her throat. I remember everything, Sarah, he cut in coldly, including how you and Alex got together behind my back. Her face went white. That's not what happened. It doesn't matter anymore, he said, waving his hand dismissively as he sank back into his lazy, detached state. Now, are you going to tell me what you want or not? She bit her lip, tears finally spilling over. Leo, what happened to you? I didn't change, he said, a cryptic smile playing on his lips. I changed back. What does that mean? Leo leaned forward, his voice dropping to a low conspiratorial whisper. Sarah, have you ever heard the term blowback? Blowback? She instinctively shrank away from him. It's when you take something that doesn't belong to you, he said, his eyes like dark pools, and the universe eventually comes to collect with interest. What isn't yours will eventually cost you everything. Her hand started to shake. Leo, what are you talking about? Just making conversation. He leaned back again, picking up his phone with that same unnerving smile. By the way, how are Alex's nightmares getting worse? Sarah shot to her feet, her face a deathly pallor. How did you know about that? Leo just smiled. What did you do, Leo? Her voice was filled with a terror. She could no longer hide. Me? He said slowly, drawing out the word. I didn't do a thing. I just lay down. The simple statement seemed to strike her like a physical blow. She staggered backward and then fled the apartment as if escaping a monster. Outside, the neighbors quickly averted their gazes, pretending to be busy. Did you see her face? She looked like she'd seen a ghost. That Leo kid is getting creepier by the day. Chapter 4. The system calls in the debt. Mr. Vance, we have a problem with the Tech Campus project. The expensive fountain pen slipped from Alex's fingers. The coffee in his cup trembled, mirroring the tremor in his hands. What do you mean a problem? He snapped, his voice an octave higher than usual. His assistant kept her head down. The environmental impact review was denied and someone filed an official complaint alleging bidding irregularities. Impossible. Alex slammed his fist on the desk, the heavy thud echoing his disbelief. Outside on the street, a group of office workers paused. Did you hear? Vance's company is about to go under. No way. He was flying so high just a few months ago. What goes up must come down, I guess. With a shaking hand, Alex dialed Mr. Harrison's private number. The ringing tone felt like a funeral dirge. The number you have dialed has been disconnected. Useless all of them. Alex threw his phone against the wall. The sound of the screen shattering was the only thing that broke the silence. Downstairs, the lobby was a chaotic swarm of reporters. Camera flashes went off like strobes. Mr. Vance, what is your response to allegations of fraud in the tech campus bidding process? Sources claim several city officials are implicated. Can you comment? Is it true your primary investors have pulled their funding? Huddled in his office, Alex watched the feeding frenzy on the security monitor, his face ashen, get the legal team on a conference call. Now he barked into the intercom, his fingers twitching. Meanwhile, in a private room at an upscale steakhouse, the same partners who had been showering Alex with praise a month ago were raising their glasses. Good thing we got out when we did. That ship is sinking fast. Vance got arrogant. Started to believe his own hype. You have to admit his luck took a weird turn. It's like every step he takes is on a landmine. It's a classic case of rats fleeing a sinking ship. No one will touch him now. The clinking of their wine glasses sounded like a death knell. Alex, they're freezing my accounts. Sarah's hysterical voice shrieked through the phone, punctuated by gut-wrenching sobs. Calm down. What accounts? Alex said, forcing a composure he didn't feel. His fingertips were ice cold. The jewelry investment you told me about. They're calling it a Ponzi scheme. Alex closed his eyes, his temples pounding. I'll handle it. Handle it. You can't even handle yourself, she screamed before the line went dead. Night fell, but the lights in Alex's office remained on. A solitary beacon of despair in a dark high-rise. Mr. Vance, Mr. Thompson from the board just resigned, his assistant said, peeking her head in. Alex didn't respond, just stared blankly at a spreadsheet, the numbers blurring into meaninglessness. And a few more reporters called. Get out! He roared, sweeping every document off his desk in a single violent motion. The assistant scurried away, leaving Alex alone amidst the ruins of his empire. 3 days later, on a miserable, rainy afternoon, Sarah burst into Leo's apartment. What did you do to us? Her makeup was a mess. Her hair was plastered to her head, and her designer heels were caked in mud. Leo slowly sat up on the couch and stretched. Hello, Sarah. Don't play dumb with me, she shrieked, her eyes bloodshot. This has to be you. Doors creaked open down the hall as the neighbors emerged for the latest installment of the drama. She's back and she looks even worse than last time. I heard her boyfriend's company went bankrupt. He owes millions. No wonder she's losing it. Probably wants him to take her back. You think this hashtag quit life guy has some kind of secret power? How do you bankrupt someone by lying on a couch? Leo glanced at the small crowd, offered a polite, almost gentle smile, and said, sorry for the disturbance. He then quietly closed the door, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the storm raging inside the room. It was you, wasn't it? Sarah hissed, her nails digging in her palms so hard they drew blood. Leo returned to the couch. What did I do? I've been right here the whole time. Don't lie. Alex's projects, my investments. How could everything fall apart at the exact same time? Her voice cracked with desperation. Oh, did something happen? He asked, his tone as light as if he were asking about the weather. She lunged at him, grabbing the collar of his shirt. Stop it. I know you did something. I didn't do anything, Leo said, calmly, peeling her fingers away. His eyes were like still water. I just stopped giving. Giving what? What are you talking about? Tears streamed down her face and Leo continued, his voice low and powerful. Never stop taking when you take what isn't yours. The bill always comes due. Sarah froze, the anger in her eyes giving way to a creeping dread. What? What are you saying? Where do you think Alex's good luck came from, Sarah? Leo stood up, looking down at her. Did you think it just fell from the sky? I don't understand. She stammered, her gaze darting around nervously. The system, Sarah. Leo's voice dropped to a whisper. The one that was siphoning my life force, my potential, my luck. System. You're insane. She breathed, backing away until she hit the wall. It wasn't a gift. It was a high-interest loan, Leo said, taking a slow step toward her. For every piece of good fortune it fed to Alex, it was also feeding him risk. Debt. You're not making any sense. Her body was trembling uncontrollably. My lying flat cut off the payments, Leo said softly, a cold smile twisting his lips. And so, the loan shark decided to collect from its current debtor, Alex. In the most brutal way possible, Sarah's face turned the color of ash. Her legs gave out and she slid to the floor. No, that's impossible. And the best part is I didn't have to lift a finger. Leo sat back down, popped open a beer, and took a long, satisfying sip. I just quit. Outside, thunder cracked, and a flash of lightning illuminated his face, making him look like a marble statue carved from ice. Sarah crumpled on the floor, sobbing, all her former glamour gone. She was just a pathetic, drenched mess. "Lo, please help us," she begged, her voice choked with tears as she crawled toward him. "Help you," he chuckled, a sound devoid of any warmth. Why would I get in the way of his system collecting its debts? We'll be ruined. Alex will go to jail, she cried, clutching at his pant leg like it was a lifeline. That's his debt to pay. Leo coolly shook her hand off. Just like choosing him was your choice to make, Sarah. Outside, the neighbors' whispers grew louder. Did you hear that? Jail. This is serious. I told you this kid had something up his sleeve. He can ruin people from his couch. It's karma, I tell you. That's what she gets for betraying him. Sarah staggered to her feet, tear tracks staining her face. Leo, I hate you. No, Sarah. Leo smiled as he held the door for her, his voice gentle but lethal. You hate your own greed. Chapter 5. The Final Judgment. Alex Vance sat slumped in his executive chair, hands buried in his hair. The financial reports spread before him were a sea of red ink. How did this happen? How, he muttered, his lips cracked and bleeding from days of anxious gnawing. His assistant hovered at the doorway, afraid to get too close. Mr. Vance, the police are downstairs. Stall them. Alex's head shot up, his eyes wild. Do whatever you have to do. She looked at the floor. I don't think we can. They have warrants. Down in the lobby, camera flashes created a blinding strobe effect. Reporters surged forward like sharks that had scented blood. Mr. Vance, can you comment on the fraud allegations? Sources say the illegal financing scheme involves billions. Is this true? Alex's phone buzzed incessantly on the desk. A flood of messages from creditors and angry investors. Not a single one offered help. The same people who were kissing my ass yesterday won't even pick up the phone today. He laughed a broken hollow sound before sweeping the phone to the floor. The flashing red and blue lights of the police cars outside painted his office in pulsating nightmarish hues. At the same time, Sarah stood at an ATM watching in horror as the machine swallowed her card. The screen flashed a single brutal message. Account frozen. No, that's not possible. She screamed, drawing stares from everyone in the bank. Hey, isn't that Alex Vance's girlfriend? A woman whispered to her friend. I heard she was in on that Ponzi scheme, too. Sarah's right. You should have seen her post on Instagram bragging about her genius investments. Sarah covered her face and ran from the bank, only to be ambushed by a pack of reporters waiting outside. Miss Collins, do you have a statement regarding your involvement in the Vance investment fraud? Get away from me, she yelled, batting away microphones. In her panic, her heel caught on a crack in the pavement, and she tumbled to the ground. The cameras flashed mercilessly, capturing her utter humiliation for tomorrow's front pages. Back in his penthouse apartment, Alex sat alone in the dark, the city lights painting stripes across his haggard face. A sharp, insistent knock echoed through the room. Mr. Vance, this is the police. Open the door. He felt a profound exhaustion, as if every ounce of strength had been drained from his body. He slowly walked toward the door, but paused when he caught his reflection in a large wall mirror. The man staring back was a ghost with pale skin and sunken eyes. But behind him, in the reflection, a shadowy figure seemed to shimmer and writhe. Get away from me! Alex screamed, smashing his fist into the mirror. Shards of glass rained down, embedding themselves in his skin. What's going on in there? An officer yelled before they began to ram the door. Alex stumbled back, his mind fracturing. A voice, slick and oily, whispered in his ear. Your luck has run out. It's time to pay the price. Leo. It was Leo, he sobbed, collapsing to the floor. The door burst open. The police found Alex curled in a fetal position, rocking back and forth, completely incoherent. On social media, photos of his arrest went viral. The comments were brutal. Good riddance. You can't ride a lucky streak forever. My parents lost their savings in a scam. I hope he rots in prison. Heard he had a total psychotic break during the interrogation. Kept screaming about a curse. Sarah's apartment was sealed. Her designer bags and jewelry confiscated as evidence. Her boss called. Sarah, I'm sorry, but we have to let you go. The voice was cold. Corporate. Please, just let me explain, she begged, her voice raw. There's nothing to explain. Your name is tied to Alex Vance. You're toxic to the company's image. He hung up. She sat on a park bench, her expensive coat now stained and rumpled. Her life was in ruins. Leo, she whispered, the name a desperate prayer. Maybe Leo can help me. On another dreary, rain-soaked afternoon, the knock came at Leo's door. He opened it to an unbelievable sight. Alex, looking like a broken doll, was being held up by two men. Sarah stood beside them, her face a mess of tear-streaked makeup. "Cousin," Alex croaked, his eyes bloodshot and vacant. "Help me." The hallway instantly filled with curious neighbors. "Oh my God, this is better than reality TV. He's live streaming it," a girl exclaimed, pointing her phone. "They say Vance went crazy. Thinks he's cursed." "It's not a curse. It's karma. He stole his own cousin's fiancée, didn't he?" Leo's face was unreadable. "Come in," he said, stepping aside. Inside, Alex crumpled to his knees. His once immaculate suit was a wrinkled mess. "Leo, please. I know you did this. Make it stop," he begged, clutching at Leo's pants. "Make what stop?" Leo asked, his voice neutral. "The curse, the system." Alex shrieked. "I know it was all you." Sarah dropped to her knees beside him. "Leo, we were wrong. Please, I'm begging you. Help us." Outside, the crowd of neighbors grew. Their phones all pointed at the open doorway. "Did you hear that? A curse? What is this guy? Some kind of warlock? Whatever it is, they deserved it." Leo slowly rose to his feet and looked down at the two people who had destroyed his life. His eyes as cold and hard as diamonds. "You want the truth?" he asked. His voice was quiet, but it silenced the entire room. Alex and Sarah looked up. Their faces a pathetic mixture of hope and terror. "That system," Leo began, his words precise and devastating. "It doesn't just transfer luck, it transfers risk. Every piece of good fortune it gave you came with an invisible mountain of debt." Alex began to tremble violently. "What? What debt?" "Every lucky break was a loan you took out against my future," Leo explained. "And when I decided to lie flat, I cut off the revenue stream. I defaulted," Sarah gasped, understanding finally dawning in her eyes. "So you did it on purpose from the very beginning." "I just understood the rules of the game." A chilling smile touched Leo's lips. "I laid a trap, and I let your greed walk you right into it. You willingly took all of my liabilities, all of my risk right off my shoulders and placed it onto your own." Alex's face was gray. He finally understood the cosmic horror of what had happened to him. "The blowback," he whispered. "I didn't get revenge," Leo said calmly. "I just stepped aside and let you pay the price for what you stole." Thunder boomed outside and a brilliant flash of lightning lit the room. Alex finally broke, curling into a ball on the floor. His sobs. The raw animal sounds of soul being torn apart. Tears rolled silently down Sarah's face. She now knew that what they had stolen from Leo wasn't just his luck. It was their own future. "What isn't yours?" Leo said, his voice a final quiet judgment. "You eventually have to give."